Hello, everyone, and welcome to the program. I'm your moderator for this broadcast, Mark Kobrick. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Jefferson County, I welcome you to the pro-con presentation of Lakewood Ballot Question 200. As sponsor of this forum, the League of Women Voters of Jefferson County's goal is to present the views of the issue committees in a fair, nonpartisan setting so that you, the voter, can make an informed decision. All four issue committees, two from each side, have been invited to participate and have agreed to be represented by our panelists today. The League empowers voters and defends democracy through education and advocacy with their 100th anniversary coming in 2020. The League never supports or opposes candidates or political parties. The League does take positions on issues that it has developed a policy on. For Ballot Question 200, the League has not taken a position to support or oppose. The views expressed during this presentation will be those of the registered issue committees, not the views of the Jefferson County League of Women Voters or the City of Lakewood. The format will be as follows. Each side will be making an opening and closing statement. I will present the provisions of the ballot questions and ask for each side to explain their positions and why they feel that you should agree with them. So first, let me introduce our panelists. Speaking for the proponent side, Kathy Kintner, who is co-petitioner of Strategic Growth for Lakewood Issue Committee. Thank you for being here today, Kathy.
Thank you, Mark.
And speaking for the opponent side, Bill Furman, Vice Chair of our Lakewood 2019 Issue Committee. And Bill, thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, so here now is the ballot question overview. The ballot question 200 reads as follows. Shall the City of Lakewood limit residential growth to no more than 1% per year by implementing a permit allocation system for new dwelling units and by requiring City Council approval of allocations for projects of 40 or more units? If passed, the ordinance referenced in Ballot Question 200 would establish a building permit management system that limits residential growth in the city to no more than 1% per year. It would require anyone seeking a building permit for a new dwelling unit to obtain an allocation as a condition precedent to the issuance of a building permit. The City Council would be required to determine the number of allocations available for issuance of building permits for each year based on 1% of the number of existing dwelling units as of December 31st of the previous year. The ordinance would authorize exemptions to the allocation requirement, which could be approved either by vote of Lakewood electors or by ordinance of the City Council finding that certain criteria have been met. A lot of legalese. Why? Lawyers. That's why. But still, it's something that will have to stand up in court. So each panelist will have 90 seconds for an opening statement, 2 minutes to answer each of our questions, and 1 minute for closing comments. And Kathy Kintner, we would like you to begin. So first of all, your opening statement, if you would.
Thank you. When it comes to growth and development in Lakewood, one thing is abundantly clear. What we are doing now is not working. What we are doing now, unfettered growth, is causing prices to rise, crowding our streets and schools, and overburdening our precious open space. According to the Denver Post, the unlimited supply of market-rate, high-end apartments being offered by developers is not meeting the demand for workforce housing and instead raises the rent of more affordable units. What we are doing now is most certainly not meeting the primary demand, which, according to our Lakewood Housing Study, is for the single-family home. What we are doing now is causing urban sprawl. We are replacing job opportunities with stretches of high-density asphalt, concrete, and steel structures, incapable of helping clean our air and worsening stormwater concerns. We are replacing longtime local businesses that provide both a tax base and walkable communities, jobs, and neighborhood services with high-density housing, worsening traffic, and risking what our county is currently experiencing, a spiraling population that stretches government budgets perilously thin. We have allowed the consequences of growth to go unmitigated for far too long. So if what we are doing now doesn't work, then we need Ballot Question 200 for a reasonable, efficient, and sane solution.
All right, Kathy, thank you very much. Bill Furman, now, if you would, your opening statement.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Bill Furman. I'm a Lakewood resident. I've been born and raised here. I've been here for 43 years. My family's here. My parents still live here. When my wife and I chose to start our family, we chose to do it in Lakewood because it's a diverse, inclusive, vibrant community. And we want to protect that community. The initiative purports to support things that will either hinder or destroy. The initiative will push development to single-family sprawl. It will push development to the periphery outside Lakewood. And in doing so, this development will reduce the opportunities for new open space. It will increase traffic. And by virtually eliminating multifamily near transit, or frankly anywhere, the initiative will also reduce our opportunities and nearly eliminate our opportunities for affordable housing, whether it's for rent or for purchase. So in order to protect Lakewood, we need to vote no on ballot initiative 200.
All right, Bill, thank you. And now we'll go to our questions. Your answers can last for 2 minutes before time expires. So, Bill, we'll start with you this time, obviously speaking in opposition to the initiative.
Okay.
So the first question is, why did you form your issue committee, and where does your funding come from?
So I'm primarily representing our Lakewood. I'm representing two different committees. One I'm not a part of and one I am, but both representing the idea of preventing the initiative from harming Lakewood. Our Lakewood, its money is entirely grassroots Lakewood residents. It's the reason it exists is to take on issues like this. In the past, it had taken on the issue of trying to 2D, trying to preserve the tax money, and then in this case, our Lakewood is seeking to prevent the initiative from harming Lakewood's future.
All right. Kathy, same question to you. Why did you form your committee, and how are you being funded? And obviously speaking for the ballot initiative.
Yes. This ballot initiative is coming to the voters as part of our constitutional right to petition our government. Shortly after our zoning ordinance went into effect in April 2013, neighbors and neighborhoods and community members started coming to council and pointing out projects that were not appropriate. High-density housing where people expected job opportunities. After several years of listening to residents come to our city council and the city council saying, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do, community members got together and we did what I, as a Jeffco public school teacher, teach our kids to do. The initiative process in petitioning our government. Initiative, referenda, and recall are necessary checks and balances when our elected officials have let things get out of hand, as they have here in Lakewood. When the government isn't responsive, we have little recourse. Those of us with little financial resources have no recourses but the process of initiative, referendum, or recall. Our issue committee was formed because it is part of the initiative process required by the city. All of our signatures were gathered by Lakewood residents or Lakewood dollars. We did use some paid petitioners. All of our dollars, however, have come from inside of Lakewood and our Lakewood community. The summer of 2017, when we were gathering signatures, an issue committee formed, and they raised over $140,000. Only one $25 donation came from Lakewood. And as Mr. Furman mentioned, the opposition is now trying to confuse voters by using the name of another issue committee, which is not the same. Rest assured, there are many supporters of 2D who also support the Lakewood Strategic Growth Initiative.
All right, Kathy, let's go to our next question, and I will begin with you for this question. We want your view on the current process of urban development in Lakewood. The current process of urban development in Lakewood.
You don't want to be more specific? I'm sorry.
Well, I think what we're looking for is whether the process is too cumbersome, or if you think the process is something that needs to be streamlined, or if you think the process currently is obviously one that's working or not working.
Okay, can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, your view on the current process of urban development in Lakewood.
I find it interesting that the question uses the word urban development when Lakewood is a suburb. And most people have moved to Lakewood to experience a suburban environment. We've added thousands of new dwelling units in just the past few years. But at the same time, have we planned appropriately for all of those families that are coming here? How many of the people who are coming here are seniors? Have we increased Lakewood rides or meals for the seniors that we offer? How many children have we added, while at the same time closing one of our 2 outdoor swimming pools because we don't have the resources to get it open in time for this summer? How many more of our city parks will we now charge for services because we are adding so many residents without taking care of necessary public services? In addition, what we are doing now, the suburban development process, has no oversight. Large residential development projects are streamlined through an administrative process. Residents have been coming to council consistently at every meeting with concerns over development projects such as the replacement of amenities at White Fence Farm and the Point Athletic Club. And the council is currently unable to help these residents. We need to give council a mechanism for dealing with what they should be dealing with.
Okay. And Bill Furman, again, speaking against the initiative, give us your view on the current process of urban development in Lakewood.
Well, actually, there's a few different pieces of that, and it's pretty complex. I mean, a big piece of our urban development or suburban development is started out by the zoning ordinance that we have. And while it's an imperfect thing, as you can see with what's going on in Lakewood now, with development dialogue and the comprehensive plan, it's something that integrates the public into it, and the involvement they have in helping to push changes when they don't see zoning working the way they'd like. It's also a mechanism by which people know what is coming. The thing about the initiative is it becomes a capricious random thing based on whatever council members are there at the time, whereas zoning is something that we are aware of. We can see what can and can't be built, and that gives us opportunities to fight it before it happens, and it gives us opportunities to know what the value of what we have is. This also helps us be able to understand where amenities belong. The reality is if we stretch our amenities by pushing all our development to single family, as the initiative would do, it's that much more difficult to support our amenities, our parks, what have you, as they are forced to spread further and further, as will our police need to spread further and further. So I think our current system for development is good, and it's a system that continues to evolve to try and meet the needs as they change. I think Lakewood has a good way of addressing it.
All right, you have first shot at the next question, and that question is, what direct changes, in your opinion, would take place if the ballot initiative passes? What direct changes would take place if, in fact, the initiative passes?
There's a lot that's embedded in that. First of all, the 1% is not going to affect single family, because the fact of the matter is, for decades, we have not risen above 300 permits at most for single family. And that includes single family attached, townhomes, duplexes, all those fall into the single family category. Those won't be affected. That kind of development will continue at pace. What it will affect will be multifamily, and I know there are some areas where we have multifamily happening that people are concerned with. Those areas are areas where we need to look at the zoning, if it's appropriate, and these are ways in which they can be changed. Zoning can change. In the same way that the council can address whether or not something can be built under the initiative, they could just as easily address the zoning in those areas. There is no impending lawsuit if you change zoning, unless there's vested rights. But the other piece is, once this multifamily is nearly halted, affordable housing becomes nearly impossible. The reality is affordable housing with a median income in Lakewood of $61,000 is frankly got to be multifamily. Low-income housing has to be multifamily. A lot of housing for the disabled has to be multifamily, and these types of housing are essentially eliminated under this plan. What's important to note additionally is they, in the initiative, they use the reference to Jefferson County's median income. You'll notice in their definitions, which is $81,000 roughly, $20,000 higher than Lakewood. So the affordable housing under this wouldn't, even if you were to build it, wouldn't match the needs of Lakewood. And so my concern is what won't be able to be built under this initiative.
All right, Kathy, same question for you. In your opinion, what direct changes would take place if the ballot initiative passes? And again, I'll remind our viewers that you are speaking in favor of the initiative.
I am in favor of the initiative because what we're doing now doesn't work. What we are doing now is not providing affordable housing. What we're doing now by providing apartments and allowing the developer to decide the type of units to be built is that we are developing high-end luxury market rate apartment units. Concentrated in that market, it does not provide the supply of our demand, and in fact it increases all housing for those affordable units. According to the Denver Post, and Teo Nicholas, a Harvard Extension School instructor, adding new apartments at higher price point will, by itself, increase the average rent figure. So what we are doing now is actually causing prices to rise and causing urban sprawl and not providing the right housing. The initiative will provide oversight and require council to make those decisions so that the right housing can be built in the right places in Lakewood. Many of the opponents to this initiative themselves actually live in large single-family homes, but want to deny that opportunity to the rest of us. We need the oversight so that we stop eliminating our neighborhood businesses, our jobs, our tax base, and we provide the necessary, affordable, attainable, and single-family home that our community is desiring.
Question number 4, and Kathy, you get first shot at this one. What will the financial impact to the city of Lakewood be? What will the financial impact be if this ballot initiative passes? Financial impact on the city of Lakewood, or is there one?
I was a little bit surprised by that question just because it was already, as you were mentioning lawyers beforehand, it sort of already was determined by the court process that there is no financial impact to the city on this. Do you still want me to kind of go about trying to answer that?
If your opinion is zero impact, then that's your opinion.
I would encourage everybody, I will make some comments along that, but I would encourage everybody, I guess, to read the court filings that have been done in this. In addition, the city clerk has determined that this is a ballot question and not a ballot issue. Where there are financial impacts, a ballot issue is required and not a ballot question. The financial impacts, though, I believe are great to our community if we don't pass this initiative. We know what's happening now without this initiative. Prices are rising, our green space is being paved over, and we are not dealing with rampant growth in a reasonable, responsible, sane way. Thank you.
Bill, same question for you. What financial impact to the city of Lakewood if, in fact, the ballot initiative passes, if there is any?
Well, I think there are two issues here. One is the impact directly to the city itself due to the initiative. Obviously, this adds layers to the bureaucracy because of it imposes new rules governing how permits are done. It imposes numerous new rules and oversight that the city council will have to vote on every 40-plus unit. That's just layers of time that the city and the city staff will have to work on it. But I think the bigger question is how it will affect the city's economy. And I think this is critical to understand. We continue to change. I think if you look, there's a quote by the previous original mayor, Ritchie, downstairs, talking about Lakewood always pushing for progress, something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing, but you can see it on the wall downstairs. And so this city continues to progress forward and change. And one thing that will help support this city is essentially multifamily where it belongs, which is near transit and near jobs. Because this is a city that has gone from a bedroom community to a community that supports numerous big businesses, whether it's St. Anthony's, the Federal Center is here, Trumo, to name a few. And so having housing near those jobs and near transit is critically important. What that will bring with it is more businesses, restaurants, and essentially this city is a tax base based on sales tax. And so, yeah, we need our businesses, but those businesses need people to support it. As you do single-family sprawl, it is harder to support businesses because those people are spread further and further away. Really, the best way to develop businesses is a little business cores like Belmar or what would be in the Union Boulevard corridor where you have St. Anthony's, Trumo, and the Federal Center. So I think this could harm it by dramatically reducing our ability to put housing near transit and near jobs.
All right, Bill, and remind our audience again that Bill is speaking against the initiative 200. And this question deals with people who may or may not financially benefit. If, in fact, the ballot initiative passes, who would benefit financially primarily? Who would be the primary beneficiaries of the ballot initiative if it passes? Besides the lawyers, which we've already established.
Setting aside the lawyers.
Day,
I don't know who the primary beneficiaries would be if it passes, because the reality is if it passes, it's not that the single-family development is going to be dramatically enhanced, but it's not slowed down. The reality is it just becomes the only form of development you're going to see is the single-family development that sprawls out into Rooney Valley and areas like that. You will see increases in home values due to people being unable to get the supply because it will be reduced in the housing stock for things like condos and for rent apartments. I don't know that you dramatically see anyone that is going to financially benefit from it being passed. I think most of us are going to pay a price by it being passed.
Kathy, your opinion, who benefits primarily financially if, in fact, the ballot initiative passes?
Should the ballot initiative pass, I believe that we as a community will benefit. Your question, though, is based on a lot of what-ifs. And I prefer to deal right now with what we know is happening now. Mr. Furman mentioned Belmar. Belmar actually went through the same approval process that would be required under the initiative. Belmar is a planned development with an official development plan and had city council approval. It's a wonderful example of why we need to return these decisions to city council. Our new menu zoning does not allow us to look at our zoning and know what's going to be built, as Mr. Furman tried to imply. And between 1990 and 2000, we saw an average of 242 units being built a year. Between 2000 and 2010, 500 units averaged a year. That trend continued through 2014. Since then, we have averaged 1,000 units a year. This is not responsible development. We are not adding amenities as we were told would happen when we add people. Instead, we are eliminating amenities and public services and putting us all at risk because we do not have the oversight of our elected officials.
All right, Kathy, let me, and I think we've heard your three top reasons for supporting the initiative here in the last 20 minutes or so, but can you summarize for me your top three reasons for supporting 200?
Well, actually, since you...
I know we've heard them already, but if you just do a synopsis for us, that would be terrific.
Well, actually, I knew this was going to be a separate question, so I'd like to take my full 2
Okay,
minutes.
you go right ahead.
My top three reasons. Number one, we need to restore our neighborhood voice and city council decisions for large residential projects. We need to ensure that our neighborhood plans, our zoning ordinance, and our comprehensive plan are followed, as our hundreds and thousands of hours and countless neighborhood residents had input in those plans. We need the oversight so that we can provide workforce and affordable housing, so we can provide the right housing. We also need this, my number two reason, we need this ordinance so that we can be sustainable, so that we can be sustainable both environmentally and economically. The Denver Post in January did a trilogy on sustainability and the trend of new development. Of particular note is this trend of paving over nature, quote, could lead to potentially overwhelming increases in stormwater runoff and is causing worsening heat wave impacts and likely hurting residents' physical and mental health. We also need this to be sustainable economically. As we have seen just recently in our own county, quote from our county commissioners, as Jeffco's population grows, so does the demand on the county's services and programs. The county has seen an increase in traffic, development, housing, and homelessness, and the ever-increasing population is at the forefront of our financial discussions. And from our Jeffco sheriff, quote, I have failed to see a prioritization of what is a primary function of government, to keep people safe. And my third and final reason that we need this initiative is because what we are doing now is not working.
All right, Kathy, thank you. And Bill, your top three reasons for opposing the initiative.
All right, thank you.
And we'll get to closing statements next.
Okay. So the number one reason is essentially the concept of preserving a diversity of housing. And what this affects is, as this initiative pushes sprawl out, it does exactly what Kathy is talking about being concerned with, which is paving over land. The reality is our multifamily gets put in where we already have paving. The single family development is actually going where it's green space. And so that is a concern. That sprawl limits our opportunities for open space and it increases traffic. My second concern is affordable housing. The reality is, when I say affordable, I'm not even talking about subsidized housing here. What we're talking about is housing that the average person can be able to buy. Now, right now, under the economy we're in, it isn't single-family housing. It's for-purchase condos, it's apartments. Those are what is currently affordable housing, and this prevents that to be built. And this is something that we need in the whole metro area, not just in Lakewood, but it's critical in Lakewood where we have a lot of jobs, or in fact, we're creating more jobs than we are housing. And lastly, one of the critical points that has me most concerned about the SGI is that it is complex and it purports to do a lot of things that it doesn't. There is a sort of disingenuousness about the fact that it is seeking to support open space, but it's actually going to harm open space. It talks about affordable housing. The only thing it does for that is this allocation system, which has no numbers defined for it, and the fact of the matter is there's no requirements, there's no money put towards it. It is just a name. So my concern is about the sort of truth of this as much as it is whether or not it does any of the things it says. It's clearly an assault on basically open space and multifamily.
All right, okay. So now we'll move to closing statements. Each of you have 1 minute. Bill, you will begin your closing statement first regarding the Initiative 200.
Thank you. So this is a complex initiative, but a simple concern. It's addressing the right problem, but it's the wrong solution. Frankly, the initiative tries to address something that we are all concerned with, but it does it by pushing development to single-family development and to the periphery of Lakewood. By doing so, limiting our ability to create a diverse community, limiting our ability to provide housing, increasing the areas in which we are paving, and limiting our ability to deal with traffic by putting housing near transit and near jobs. I'm concerned that if this becomes an ordinance in Lakewood, we are going to see dramatic changes, not just to the current lifestyle we have, but to the future ability to preserve the economy and lifestyle that Lakewood has appreciated.
All right, Bill, thank you. Kathy, if you would, your closing statement, 1 minute, please.
The opposition relies on unfounded fears and claims of the development industry that their profit-motivated vision is what is best for our community. And they try to scare us by painting a picture with misinformation while at the same time minimizing reality. We should not be afraid to come together as a community to address the concerns that are most important to all of us, problems associated with uncontrolled growth. We should return decisions and control of these important issues to our elected officials who must answer to the public. We need oversight so the supply meets our actual demand to avoid rising prices and urban sprawl. We have allowed the consequences of growth to go unmitigated for far too long. Only by passing Ballot Question 200 can we continue to be an inclusive city where residents feel safe and comfortable in their homes and backyards. And because what we are doing now isn't working, we need Ballot Question 200 for a sane and strategic solution.
Kathy Kedner, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bill Furman, thank you as well. Both of you, very well spoken, points well illustrated, I think, in our effort to illuminate the upcoming vote. Thanks to both of you. And that concludes our forum. You have seen and heard the pro and con arguments for Lakewood Ballot Question 200, the League of Women Voters. Thanks to the issue committee representatives for being here and the City of Lakewood for recording this presentation. We urge you to vote. Ballot issue packets will include a copy of the Citizen Initiative Ordinance, and they will be mailed to all registered voters the week of June 10th, 2019. Mail your return ballot with required postage. Don't forget to make sure you postmark it correctly, or drop it off at the following location starting June 10th, a 24-hour drop-off box at 480 South Allison Parkway, the building that we are in today, located on the west side of the building. And then there is also an indoor ballot box at the city clerk's office, also in this building, first floor, 480 South Allison Parkway. That from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on July 2nd. Election Day. For election information, visit lakewood.org/special election. For an online voter guide with pro and con arguments, visit 411.org for additional information. And thanks to all of our participants today, the League and our spokespersons, and also thanks to all of you for watching, and good luck to you on Election Day.